Thanks for joining me here on the Ozzstar's Cars channel. Today's fun project, we're going to replace a seal on the back of a transmission. It happens to be an F150. Now this output shaft seal there, it's the very back where the end of the transmission meets the front of the drive shaft right there. There's a seal, and what you'll see is, or notice, is fluid, transmission fluid leaking out past that seal. Sometimes it's bad enough it'll just drip down, sometimes it'll run back along the transmission. So I'm going to take you under the truck, we'll check it out, we'll get it replaced, and I'll show you the steps to do it. It's fairly easy, it's not too difficult. I'm going to start by jacking up the back of the truck at the rear end, placing two safety stands under the axle, and we'll get under there and do our thing. So this is our drive shaft, there's the transmission, and this is our output shaft seal right here. And the telltale sign is all the transmission fluid you can see leaking. This is a common failure on these trucks. So what we need to do is remove this drive shaft. We'll slide this yoke out, and then we'll have easy access to that seal. So to get started, we want to remove the back of the drive shaft from the rear differential right here. And it's held in with four 12mm bolts. They go around here. What you want to do, or what I like to do, is now the truck is in park, so I like to what's called brake torque on all these because they can be pretty tight and rusty. I'll take a 12mm 12-point box end wrench, put that on here like this, take a pretty good size hammer, this one's a 3-pounder, 2-pounder, and just brake. Now like I said, I'm in park, and just go ahead and loosen this up because these can be pretty tight. Alright, and I just get them to the point where I can move it with the wrench. See, it's moving there on its own. And I'll do this all the way around until all four are free. And what you want to do is go up and put the truck in neutral, okay? And then spin this drive shaft so that you can get the other two that are back here, get them all loose. So let me do that. You can see I can get this one turned out. Now what I'll do is I'll try to get a socket on it. Let's see. I'll just show you this one and then I'll get to the others individually. Let's put a little universal action on this. So I got a 12mm 12-point. Got your universal right there. That's a flexible joint. And then a 6-inch extension. You could probably use a 3, but I got my impact gun. You could use a ratchet. Just get that on there. And once you brake torque on these, they come out pretty easy. There we go. See, it can be a little rusty. So I've got the transmission in neutral. So I can, of course, the emergency or parking brakes are off. There we go. So I can rotate it. So this is a one-piece drive shaft. Some of them have a carrier center bearing there support. We don't have to remove that because we don't have that. This is a 8-foot long bed regular cab. But anyway, right up front there is where we're going to slip that out of the yoke there. The yoke is up there. We're going to pull that right out of the back of the transmission. I've got a catch can here because we probably will have a little bit of fluid loss. Anyway, wanted to show you that before I actually go ahead and drop this one out for us. Alright, one bolt left, and then we can drop this out. I do have some gloves on. Okay. And these will usually stay somewhat by themselves. Don't trust it though. You know, you don't want it to pop out and hit you in the head. That would hurt. So we'll just tap this now with a hammer right around here. We rotate it. Just give it a little bit of tap. And then I showed you earlier where we're just going to pull this out and we'll be good to go that way. Other side.
There she goes. Now she's moving a little bit. There it goes. Okay, just pull it forward a little bit. Then I'll lay this down onto the ground, which you can't see, and then I'll get in a better position to slide the sucker out. So this is the flange that the drive shaft mounts to on your pinion. Your pinion here is bearings behind there. Make sure you put it back where it was before. You'll see where the rust marks are. And if it's really bad, just go ahead and clean that up. With the back of the drive shaft out, we can now just slide this backwards now. So let me just start doing that. Like I said, get ready for a little bit of fluid. There it comes. Nice and easy. You might see some fluid, you might not. In this case, I don't see any fluid. So let me get this out of the way and then we'll get that seal replaced. When you get the drive shaft out, it's important to check this right here to make sure it's smooth and you don't have any real grooves or pitting or anything. Otherwise, your seal is always going to leak. So rotate that around. Check it, make sure it's good before you put it back. You can even clean it up a little bit with a little bit of steel wool. Just don't have to go crazy on it. Keep in mind there are two types of seals, or what they call for, two different types of seals on this particular truck. Now I'm not sure if the four-wheel drives have to have this deep rubber boot here on the seal. Both of them are the same diameter inside and out, but what's different is this boot here. So this is what we have on the truck now, and that's what I'm going to replace it with. This one happens to be a Ford model here. There's your part number. I'll link it down below. But there's also, it's spec'd for a short seal. So I guess a two-wheel drive, either one would fit. This one's a National Oil Seal Federal Mogul, and there's the number 4764. So I just wanted to let you know that. Keep in mind, take a peek before you buy your seal, which one you have. This deep one here, which I'd say is over about 1.125 inches, or this one here. It's painted, you can't really tell, but it is rubber, and it's only about 1/2 inch deep. So let's start by getting this cleaned up. We don't want any of this contamination getting inside the back of the transmission. I'm just using some brake clean. Man, that felt good in the eyeballs. Maybe I should have had safety glasses on. Too late. All right. Clean this crap up. It's pretty grungy. I just got a wire brush here. And then I'll get a rag and towel. We'll clean this up. Might as well clean up the rest of it while we're down here. That way we can keep an eye on it. Okay, I've got it cleaned up pretty well. So I think we can start taking this out. Now that's the hardest part, basically. Really just getting the old one out without doing any damage to the housing. And we'll get our new one in. I'm gonna try first with my seal puller, try to get it in here and see if I can yank it out that way. It might be a little challenging, let's see. I'm not sure if that's gonna work. We may have to use the screwdriver trick. Nope, that ain't working. All right, let's get our screwdriver. Pretty tight. And I'm just going to start tapping this behind with a screwdriver. As you can see, just kind of get this to collapse. There it goes, bingo. All right, that was easy enough. So this looks worse on camera, but it's really not. It's just there's a little doohickey there. We'll just get that smoothed out. It's actually smooth. It looks rough on camera, but it's not. And here's our seal. And be mindful that the spring here came off. There's a spring inside. Oop, it just went flying. Let me grab it. So here's the spring that holds tension on the seal inside here. So make sure that that's all out. Now with that popped out of the way, we have minimal fluid loss, just a little bit. So with the seal out, let's clean this up. Just hit this with a little brake clean. I don't like to drive seals out at the bottom just to prevent leaking. But this is your shaft, your output shaft right there. So after everything's cleaned up and we're ready to go with our new seal. So it goes in this way. Make sure you've got that little, if you're using one of these DPs, that little weep hole I showed you guys earlier is down, facing down. And that's just gonna sit right in there. Now you could start this with I have like a soft hammer, they call it, one of these doohickeys. You could just start, tapping around. These usually don't go in too hard. You could do that and just, get it going. You could use I had a punch here somewhere. A little drift. You could use something like this and tap around. I happen to have out of my, my ball joint set, a collar that happens to fit perfectly around there like that. So I'm gonna use that and tap it in. So drive it in. So just make sure you're going in square. That's the key here. Just go evenly. Keep an eye on what you're doing. I go a little on this side, a little on that side, until it's all the way in. And we got a home run. You'll hear it. You'll kind of feel it when it's bottomed out. And we're almost there. There it goes. Okay. Just double check. Make sure that this is tight against the output shaft housing. That's it. By the way, I meant to mention that inside that seal you want to have grease. I think I might have said it when I showed you guys the parts. If not, it's pre-greased. This is a Ford OEM, so you want to make sure there's some grease in there. Now all we got to do is grab our drive shaft and gently slide it back in there, and nice and straight, and keep it clean. Here comes the yoke. Now I did put a little bit of WD-40 on here. You can put some transmission fluid just to help it slide in a little better. You want to keep it kind of steady. And then you've got to engage those splines. So give it a little twist as you push in. It should go in pretty easy. You don't need to slam it in there. Just get it started pretty good, about right there where it was. And then when you go down to the end, to the rear diff, you can just pick it up and maneuver it where you need to. Tighten those 4 bolts and check your fluid level in the transmission. Make sure that's good if you lost any fluid. And then take it for a test drive. You're ready to go, and just keep an eye on it. It should be dry. That's the purpose of cleaning it down here. You shouldn't see any drippy drips. I just want to show you this before I put this back in. Something that helps me out is I take another jack stand or a safety stand and a short one, and I just rest it. So when I pull this out, I slide it back. It's kind of holding it up and it's not dragging on the ground. And that'll help you out. It's like having an extra helper for free. And good idea while you have the drive shaft out is just to check your U-joint here. Make sure you wiggle the flange here and make sure you don't feel any wobble or anything like that, because now would be the time to replace that if you had to. Alright, I'm going to rotate the drive shaft right until I can see the witness marks, they call it, where the the old rust was. Everything's lining back up. That's where it was. We can get our bolt started. Once you get one of these in, you can kind of relax because you don't have to worry about it coming down and hitting you in the head. So just get that started, just loosely. Okay. All right, let me get the other 3 in and we'll wrap this up. We'll raise the rear end up so we can get those jack stands out. There we go. I like these because they have this safety pin in here, like an extra amount of security. So these are real nice pro lifts. These are the 6-ton jobs. All right, that was easy enough, not too messy. So here's our old seal. I think we could have used the shorter version in our case, but the only thing I can think of is because this thing is so deep, and this one's kind of brittle because it's so old, it protects that drive shaft yoke that goes in, so it gives it more protection from something kicking up and damaging it. That's all I can think that does. It's kind of like a dust shield on the outside. Now in the back, like I mentioned, make sure there's grease in here, and your new one should have that. If not, put some grease in there before you install this bad boy. Speaking of installing, we use this little adapter, this metal adapter here, which fit right over, let's see, like that, perfectly. On the outside, if you're looking for a piece of pipe or whatever, this was 2 1/4 inches wide on the outside, and then 2 7/16 inches on the inside, and that fit right over that just perfectly. So anyway, hopefully that'll help you out. You don't have to have it. You can definitely do it with the punch like I showed or told you about. And that's about it. So hopefully it'll stay high and dry. We'll keep an eye on it. And I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much for your time, checking out the video. Leave a comment or question down below. Smash the subscribe button if you haven't. I appreciate that. And I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.